إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بعدد كل داء ودواء وبارك وسلم عليه وعليهم كثيرا.
Surah Al-Fatiha, everybody. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata allazina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah, ashraful makhluqat. The Edge of Dawn, Moments Leading to Revelation. So this is an interesting lecture today. Very, very deep subject. It can be taken far deeper. Different scholars have taken it into different angles, but we've kept it a bit tame. But inshallah we will learn. We will benefit a lot. Just like every lesson, inshallah, you will benefit things that most people bypass. But this lesson's been done quite well by everybody, so there's no really bypassing this one. But it's interesting because everybody has their own take, and I will probably give 1-2 insights that are a little bit different than everybody else. Okay, so irhasat. Does anybody know what irhasat is? Without reading, you probably read, so I'll tell you. So irhasat come from the Arabic root word rahasa, which conveys the meaning of preparing the ground, laying a foundation, or heralding something soon to come. So for example, if I know that the king is coming to my town 6 months before, I pave the roads, I dig up everything, I get rid of the poor people, as happened with Buddha. I put flowers on the roads, I put lighting, you change electricity from one area of the town to fit the electricity in your area and stuff like that. Right. So this is what you prepare the ground for. So with the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a long time before, it's debated how long. You can, take it back from the beginning of his life. You can take it back even before his life. You can take it back to Ḥirā the monk. Or if you don't believe that story, you can take it back to 3 years before prophethood. Many, many signs occurred after the coming of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that were preparing the ground for him as much as for us. Right? These are signs, miracles that happen that are called irhasat. So the miraculous or extraordinary events that occur before the beginning of revelation, serving as signs of coming of prophethood of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In other words, they are divine indicators, signs, portents and foreshadowings that the final prophet was soon to arise. Now the scholarly definition, Imam al-Qurtubi defines irhasat as the extraordinary events that occur before a prophet's mission to prepare the people for his coming. So this means before Jesus was born, there must have been some stuff. Before Moses, there must have been some stuff. Before all the prophets, there must have been some signs. Allah knows how overt or covert or whatever they were, but they were. Maybe they were for only the prophet, maybe they were for everybody, like in this case. As-Suyuti in his Al-Khasa'is Al-Kubra, he says every sign or wonder that preceded the revelation to the prophet which indicated his truthfulness and divine selection. So that would be Abraha, right? Abraha coming in the year he was born. That would be the cloud over him. That would be barakah in the house when... I should be asking you this. Okay, can somebody tell me then, please? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, you should know enough now. I want to finish this lesson by 12 o'clock.
How about the miraculous events around the Prophet's father, Abdullah, and was it the drawing? Was the the divining around how many camels for his life.
Yep, the Zamzam well, right? The fact that Imam Abu Talib's house was never empty of food. There always seemed to be food. Halima Sa'diyah, when she took him up to the plateau, there was always her sheep and cattle were well fed, whereas everybody else's weren't. Even when they sent them in the same area, they never managed to fatten up as much as Halima Sa'diyah's. Right? The extra barakah in business when Rasul did business for Khadija. All of these things are signs, right? Some signs we're going to look at now. For example, probably about 3 years before prophecy, Rasul would go to the mountain every Ramadan and meditate, which we will discuss in a bit. He said, I recognize the stone in Mecca which used to pay me salutations before my advent as a prophet, and I recognize it even today. So there was this the plants would greet him. He would be surprised, looking around saying, what? Who? Where? The rocks would greet him. Now when you hear the first time, it's a bit unnerving, but when you hear it every day, you get used to it, right? No doubt you can think maybe this is the jinn, but God knows what Rasul thought. Most probably he thought that was the actual rock. The actual rock is talking to me. That means that Allah's given me the ability to understand this rock. Why, I don't know. There was no boasting about it, which means, he was a very humble character, basically reflecting on what's going on, why, what's the why behind this. Not that I have a superpower now and I will fly across the world. No, it's like why, basically, a deepening of pondering on the Lord and on the secrets. These kind of miracles would make us become people like Spider-Man. If a rock spoke to me, straight away what I would do is look at my arms and try to fire off web to see if really I'm Spider-Man with superpowers, because a rock spoke to me, right? But Rasulullah, it just humbled him more, made him more thoughtful, which is the actual idea, right? Because it's in preparation for something, and that preparation needs a lot of thought and focus. So that's one amazing thing. Other ones, what I wanted you lot to speak, but my class is actually quite boring, I know this. I wanted the class to say this to me, the following. The year of the elephant, when Abraha marched into Kaaba, is a big sign, because the birds came. The splitting of the palaces of Kisra, even though I don't believe this, but I've mentioned it because it's in the books, there's no harm in mentioning it. The prophets, and also the fire that was, the 1,000-year-old fire. Also the palace, Lake Sawa, I think it is, in Iraq, dried up. I don't know how that can be a sign, because, a lake drying up, lakes are like bounties from Allah with food inside them. So, why would a lake dry up? The Prophet's birth events, a radiant light emanated from Amina that illuminated palaces of Syria, right? The dream of Amina, she dreamt she gave birth to a great light by which the castles of Basra and Syria illuminated. The monk Ḥirā, he recognized him as a prophet. Pre-revelation, solitude and truthfulness. His growing retreat to Ḥirā, his hatred of idolatry, and his reputation as Al-Amin, all part of the moral spiritual irhasat, preparing him for the first encounter with Jibreel. So this started happening at least 3 years before. Most Seerah people concentrate on the last 6 months for obvious reasons, but this started long before. So Alex, you want to read? Loud in your best voice. Loud because I tend to not catch your voices when I'm recording lessons.
Sure. Narrated Aisha, the commencement of divine inspiration to Allah's Messenger ﷺ was in the form of good dreams, which came true like bright daylight. Then the love of seclusion was bestowed upon him, and he used to go into seclusion in the cave of Ḥirā, where he would worship Allah continuously, without turning to his family, for many days before returning to his family to take provisions. He would take with him journey food for the stay, then returning to Khadija to take food and again go into seclusion, until suddenly the truth, i.e. the revelation, descended upon him while he was in the cave of Ḥirā. came to him and said, "Read, Iqra." He replied, "I do not know how to read." The angel caught him forcefully and pressed him so much that he could not bear it any more. He then released him and said again, "Read." He replied, "I do not know how to read." Thereupon he caught him the second time and pressed him until he could not bear it any more. Then he released him again and said, "Read." He replied, "I do not know how to read," or "What shall I read?" Thereupon he caught him the third time and pressed him, and then released him and said, shall I keep going?
Yeah, I'm trying to move it.
"Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he knew not."
Carry on.
Then Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned with the inspiration and with his heart beating severely. He went to Khadija and said, "Cover me, cover me." They covered him until his fear subsided. After that, he told her everything that had happened, saying, "I fear that something may happen to me." Khadija said, "Never, by Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. You keep good relations with your kin, help the poor and the destitute, serve your guests generously and assist those who are suffering." Khadija then accompanied him to her cousin Waraka ibn Nawfal, who was a Christian and versed in scriptures. Waraka said, "O my nephew, what have you seen?" The Prophet ﷺ described it, and Waraka said, "This is the same angel who used to come to Moses. I wish I were young so I could live to see your people's reaction." The Prophet ﷺ asked, "Will they drive me out?" Waraka replied, "Yes. Never has a man brought something similar to what you have brought without being treated with hostility. If I live to see that day, I will support you strongly." But after a few days, Waraka died, and the divine inspiration was also paused for a while.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so one thing I want to... Okay, so let's just look at the first part here, the yellow part, right? Everybody is familiar with this story, yes? Who is not familiar with this story? Just say with your voice you're not familiar. The one or two who are not familiar. Okay, I'm guessing everybody is familiar because this is very famous, right? Let's now unpack this story. So first of all, Rasulullah would... Allah made solitude beloved to him. It says here, right? So he started having dreams 6 months before prophethood. He started to have dreams that would be real. When you and I have dreams, we have dreams that we need interpreting. Very rare is a dream where the same thing happens the next day. Whereas Rasulullah started to have crystal clear dreams that would become like the crack of dawn, they say, or like bright daylight, right? I.e., this is a wordplay, you know, on the new beginning, revelation, the new dawn. You know, like this is just the start. Oh Habib, O Prophet of Allah, this is just the start. You know, you've just hit dawn. Each of your dreams are like revelation, and you've just hit dawn. Let the sun rise a bit, my beloved, and I'll show you more of who I am and secrets of creation. So he would worship Allah continuously. He would go up. Seclusion became beloved to him. So Allah made him love seclusion. Now, Rasulullah was known as an introvert. We must know this, right? There's no harm in saying this. Introvert people are actually more sensitive and deep thinkers. They don't like company. Company drains them. They don't like to hear people shooting the breeze. It doesn't do anything for them. They like their own company. They're contemplative. They're thinkers. So Rasulullah spent a large amount of time on his own anyway. And you think human beings, this is what I told you, this is the beauty of a human being, is he thinks, and his thinking will force him to get to an understanding of the Lord, right? So he knew there is a God, but the biggest problem is he didn't know how to worship him, right? So he knows there is a God. He knows God demands worship. All around him he can see idols. He could see disgusting acts happening, right? He wants to worship in the Kaaba, however what he thinks worship is, whatever it may be, and we look at that. But he's surrounded by these filthy idols and the bad energy from these idols. So Allah made seclusion there for him, where he would separate himself and go far out of town, not even in his house, out of town, up a mountain. Two reasons. One, his own reason. Another thing is Allah wanted this in preparation for prophethood. Now they say that this cave was found by Abdul Muttalib, and Abdul Muttalib had the habit of doing this. Many of the aristocratic families would periodically move away from creation and reflect, even though they believed in God, right? But their problems were the pagan stuff. So they would reflect on morality, on ethics and stuff like that. You know, the Bedouin's good at that, but the problem is that he's constricted due to social norms and values, right? Where sometimes he has to go against his own higher wisdom. They say Umar was one such person, and Umar was a shepherd. Many of the aristocrat kids were shepherds, and when you're shepherding, you've got the vast expanse of the desert and the sky, and you are forced to think greater things, right? This is where you get your openings, when you're away from all of this. So he would go up, he would take some provisions, he would take just enough provisions to last a while. Once they finished, he would go back down again. So he would go home, do some business at house, make sure everybody was okay, and then go back up again. Sometimes Khadija would meet him at a certain spot. His food was, what do you think his food was while he was on these sojourns in the mountains, by the way? What do you think Rasulullah was eating? Anybody? Let's end this class quick. I want to end this class by 12 myself today, yeah? So what do you think he was eating? If you don't know, say it. What do you think he was eating? No?
I think probably like very simple foods.
Which were what?
Things like dates and milk. I don't know.
Milk would go off. So it wouldn't be milk, because milk would go off. It was raisins and kak. Kak, the closest thing I can describe kak is ship's biscuits. So do some research on ship's biscuits. When you bake something so hard that all the moisture is taken out, it becomes like a brick, right? And it lasts so long because it doesn't decay, because it hasn't got much moisture in it. You normally put that in water. You make it like when you put Farley's biscuit into a kid's milk and then you give him that business. So likewise, you have to soften it and eat it. And raisins, and that's an interesting mix. I want to find out why raisins. What do raisins have that go together with kak and not dates? Maybe there may have been dates as well, but what I've studied is it was raisins and kak. This is very simple food. He would go back up onto the mountain, and he would probably fast as well, and he would we don't know if he fasted actually, but he would have this simple fare and spend time worshipping Allah. So while he was up there, what worshipping was he doing? Tell me, can somebody tell me what the worship would be?
Nafal prayers?
Pardon?
I said, was it Nafal prayers?
No, because prayer wasn't revealed at that time. This is pre-Islam. Okay, so I'll tell you, just for the sake of finishing by 12 o'clock. There's three things that the scholars identify, and then there's things that you can identify for yourself. Number one, he was in khalwa. Just being alone with Allah is form of worship. Number two, that small cave or the cleft, it's not even a cave, it's a tiny cleft in the mountain, points towards Mecca. You can actually see Mecca in the line of sight. I don't know today with the high buildings, but you can see Mecca. Just looking at the Kaaba is a form of worship. And number three, whatever contemplation he did is worship. So khalwa, looking at the Kaaba, and contemplation is worship. Now if we take it a bit further, what form of worship? Now imagine you are a believer in Allah. You're looking around you and you're seeing the Hajj being corrupted. You're seeing strange stuff being mixed with the worship of Allah around the Kaaba. You despise it. You move away. You see the injustice. You see creation. You see the order in the day and night. You know there is a God. You recognize your abadiyah, your slavehood. You really want to worship God, but you don't know how. So you're desperate. You're praying, which is worship, as in dua. You're crying, which is worship. You're desperately seeking God. And when do we know openings happen? At your most desperate phase. Rasulullah must have been crying, begging Allah, oh Allah, show me something. Show me guidance. Show me reality. Show me the truth. I want to worship you as you deserve to be worshipped, but I don't know how. Show me. Contemplation is worship. He must have been thanking Allah. Oh Allah, thank you for everything that you've given me. Alhamdulillah, that's worship. Showing gratitude, that's worship. Thinking about the injustices in the world and how to correct them is worship. So whatever he was doing, they call it meditation. It's not meditation as in the Buddhist meditation, but it's meditation. The original word for meditation is thinking, right? So, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is a good book to read. If you read my meditations, that means read what I've been thinking about. Right, so it's basically deep pondering and thinking. Do you remember I told you, go and look at the church fathers the Coptic church fathers who end up in the mountains in Sinai. Go, I urge you, and don't tell me next week I didn't do it. Don't get lazy, right? I always join dots for you for a reason. Go and look at those church fathers who spend time alone in the mountains of Sinai, and what they experience and how they live, because that's going to give you an inkling of what Rasulullah was doing. Right now, it's very dark there at night time. It's very scary there at night time, but he was there. Right? And how did he go to the toilet? How far would he have to go? It's very difficult. It takes a few hours getting up there. Right now we have stairs. There were no stairs back then. It's still difficult today. And when you want to climb a mountain wearing na'lain, slippers, it's not easy climbing mountains wearing slippers. I was wearing slippers and I tried to climb the mountain at Arafah, and I cut my foot on the first mountain, and that was the end of my adventure. I just came back down and it hurt. Okay, so this was a special distinction given to him, a greeting from creation to the greatest of creation. Humankind you can see something in someone and nod at them and greet them. You can be awed by them. But what would possess a rock to greet you or a tree to greet you? That's something extraordinary. Right, so Rasulullah started to have dreams every day. The dreams would be so true, just like sunrise. He mentioned them to Khadija and she consoled him. Now, in her mind, she is most probably, understand what I'm going to say now, she is most probably already forming an idea, the spark of which she possibly dare not say loud, but she hope it comes true. She already married Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, based on understandings. The story of the Jew I told you, she was the only one that took it seriously. The fact that some people knew there was a prophet coming, and she had brazenly hoped that he was the man. Just like when Abdullah was marrying and Waraka ibn Nawfal's cousin stepped out and said, take me now, I will give you all my camels, don't marry whoever, or marry whoever you want, but take me now, marry me now, spend the night with me now, because I want that light in your eyes. Right? So she knew what she saw, and Khadija in another way she knows what she's seeing, but she's not saying it yet. Right? So she would console him. You say, you freak out if someone starts having dreams that come true, and then you freak out like, oh my God, what's happening? How is this happening? Is there a jinn involved? Someone done magic on you? Are you going insane? But she's consoling him, because inside she's probably smiling to herself, thinking, all right, it's happening. It's happening. I'm overjoyed. I can't believe this. I want to hear more of this. Right? This period lasted 6 months. Why all of this? Right? To set his heart, to prepare him for what was to come. Now imagine you're just a normal person and you're going about your business, and you're someone who herds camels, and you look after your camels, and you eat your food, and you come home, and then you go to sleep, and then you go back out, and your life is mundane, it's routine and nothing special, and then boom, all of a sudden an angel comes, you're going to die, your heart's going to break there and then, it's over for you. But for 6 months, when strange things happen, after 6 months it's just another add-on, no matter how big, but you're just that one step away from dying now. Had the angel appeared in his true form without all of this happening, it's enough to kill any man. But once you've experienced all of this that's happening, you're 1% away from death, so to speak, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Now when the angel comes, you're terrified, petrified, you're in shock, your body goes into shutdown, but you don't die because you'd seen something of this before. Are you all following?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So to set his heart, to prepare him for what was to come, to indicate that something huge will take place, because everything that's following is larger than before. To not be such a huge shock, obviously when revelation came, they softly approach, right? So it's basically a softly approach for this momentous, earth-shattering, universe-changing event that was going to happen, right? Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the good dream that comes true is 1/46th part of prophethood. This is fascinating, by the way. So dreams, if your dream is a true dream, not from these 3 types of dreams, shaitani, nafsiyati, malakuti. Shaitani is from shaitan, it's the bad dream, it perturbs you, you wake up, you spit on the side, and you turn around and you sleep and you don't tell anybody. The reason you don't tell anybody, people misunderstand, is because you don't want to spread a bad dream. People make fun of you, and people can remind you later and hurt you. And it's not nice to, I had a bad experience in my dream. I was being chased by a marshmallow, right? It's not nice, right? But if you had a good dream, you want to share it, and people remind you, and it makes you feel happy for a long time after. If you're like Alex and you're dreaming of eating Papa John's pizza every other night, then that's obviously from himself, right? He was craving pizza and he dreamt pizza. But a dream from an angel that comes and gives you some true knowledge or guidance, or Allah's conduct directly without intermediary also, is 1/46th part of prophethood. You now have something that the prophets had, but only 1/46th part. Why? Let's have a look. Classical scholars explain the number as follows. Prophethood lasted 23 years from the first revelation until the prophet's fasting. Okay, so from age 40 to 43, we know this, 23 years. Before revelation, he received true dreams for 6 months. The dreams he saw at night would manifest by day exactly as seen. So 6 months of dreams, 23 years of prophethood. 6 months is half a year, and half a year is 1/46th of 23 years. Hence, true dreams are called 1/46th of prophethood. Let me hear you say, wow.
Wow.
Good. You see that one? Amazing. So, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, nothing is left of prophethood except good dreams. What does he mean here? Because prophets come with news. In Aqidah, you study, the word Nabi comes from the root word Nab, which means news. Right? The one who brings news. Prophets bring news. They bring news from the unseen. That's why the gospel is called good news. Question? Yes? Answer? Ask?
Yeah, does that mean those true dreams stopped after prophecy started, after revelation started?
They carried on in a revelatory form, right? Because this is where we will look at next lesson in the different forms of prophecy, different forms of wahi, and then you will see one of them is the dreams, the dream form also, right? But if you get a good dream that comes true and it makes you feel good, right, then know that that's a gift from Allah, which is 1/46th of prophecy, meaning that you have something, a tiny amount of what the Prophet had. You're not a prophet, but Allah gave you a tiny amount of something true that the Prophet had. So for me, that's like the most amazing thing in the world. I can say Thank you, Allah, I shared something of what the Prophet shared. Because there's nothing else apart from humanity, right? You know, I don't match the Prophet in manners, etiquettes, looks, eloquence, anything. But now, I've matched Rasulullah a tiny amount in something, right? He has something vast, and I had a tiny dot of it, and I experienced a tiny dot of it, and I know how I felt. And obviously the Prophet felt much more strong emotions, right? So this is why I say deeper seerah, you look into the tiny details and they bring immense joy, and they make connections with Rasulullah. That's a connection right there. Okay, so dreams and prophethood. In Dalail Abu Nu'man, it is indirectly reported with a satisfactory chain of narrators from the student of Abdullah ibn Masud, Alqamah bin Qais, that the Anbiya are initially shown true dreams to such an extent that when their hearts are at ease, now in a state of consciousness, divine revelation is conveyed to them by Allah. So this is what Abdullah ibn Masud is saying, that all of this happens to calm your heart, then revelation. For example, Yusuf was shown a strange dream long before his prophethood, right? You know the dream about the stars all bowing down to him, which his father said, don't tell your brothers because they're jealous of you and they will make problems for you. And they did make a problem, and then he went and he was imprisoned, and then he had another dream. There was a baker with him, and there was another person with him, I don't remember. And one guy had a dream that he put some bread on his head or something, and pigeons were, the birds, the crows were pecking away at it. And the other one had another dream, and he said, as for you, he goes, you're going to be killed, you're going to die. And as for you, you're going to be a free man, right? And then the king found out about this, not Pharaoh, king. And he said, well, you can be of use to me, right? He said, I've had a dream where I saw 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows, and the 7 lean cows ate the 7 fat cows. What can this dream mean? He says, oh king, you're in trouble. You will have 7 fat years, and you will have then 7 years of famine, 7 lean years. So if you do not do what I tell you to do now, you will all suffer famine, right? So if Yusuf wasn't there, they wouldn't have known, and they would have 7 years of hardship. And in the past, famines were very real. Hundreds and thousands and even up to millions died. So he said, build grain houses, and for 7 years, every one of you is going to work like ants. You're not going to celebrate. You're going to work hard, and you're going to just grow the maximum amount of grain you can, and you're going to pack it away. Save it for a rainy day. So when it rained, metaphorically, and the time came, the Egyptians had food, but that famine spread outside of Egypt to Palestine as well. So the Palestinians were suffering, the Jews were suffering, Yaqub and his family were suffering. So they said, well, Egypt has food, let's immigrate to Egypt. They immigrated to Egypt, and lo and behold, who recognizes them? Their own brother, the one that they tried to kill. And Allah then says something absolutely amazing, which there's no logic to, but Allah wanted it and it happened. Allah said, get them accused for stealing. Put these gold dishes into their bags and let them go, and then have a guard search them. They had nothing to hide because they're already poor, they're already destitute. They're going back with some grain to their own country or out onto the outskirts. And then the guards stop them and they say, okay, we've got nothing to hide, it's all God. And then they find the gold plate, and they're like, oh, thieves, right, under arrest, clap you in irons, take you to the governor. The governor was Yusuf. And then they recognize their brother, who's now the governor, the second in charge in Egypt, right? Now a question arises, Allah could have just done it in some other way. Allah could have said, speak to your brothers, but why make them look like thieves? There's a wisdom behind it. You have to look at the tafasirs, but it's an amazing story nonetheless. What I'm trying to say here is that the dream started from his brother, him having a dream that the stars were prostrating to him. Then he had other dreams, and those dreams led him to interpret the dream of a king and then save the whole nation, basically. Right, now, khalwa, the solitude of the soul, which is what we were talking about just before we started this lesson. Why is it important? Why did the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam go away? Let's have some quotes from across the spectrum. We have Rumi. He talks about the door of the heart. Seek the wisdom that will untie your knot. Seek the path that demands your whole being. If you are seeking that path, sitting in khalwa in your bedroom with your wife screaming at the kids, your kids wanting to go to the shops to buy sweets, and with idols just outside your window, you've not really untied your knot by seeking the path that demands your whole being. Your mind is on your wife, your mind is on your kids, your mind is on everything else. Get away from everything. When your mind is on nothing, literally nothing, and that can only be deep underground in total silence, or way up in the mountains where you can literally hear nothing. You can hear nothing. Right? If you've ever gone hiking very high in the mountains, it's dead silent. Right? And if you go into caves, again, it's dead silent. So Rumi's solitude is not escaped, but total presence, where the seeker's self is stripped away until only truth remains, and that can only happen in khalwa. Ibn Ata'illah, The Mirror Within, this is a beautiful book of aphorisms that we can go through. I've taught it a few times. It's a beautiful spiritual book, but again, it needs to be taught. If you desire clarity of heart, let it be emptied of the dust of creatures. This is self-evident for you lot now. When the noise of people settles, the light of God begins to reflect unbroken upon the mirror of the soul. Buddha, the forest path. The one who is not disturbed by solitude, who finds joy in the silence of the forest, that one is free. So he's talking about the forest path, the solicitous path, the quiet path. This is why the monk, when in the video of the Coptic monks, when the guy went to spend a week in solitude in the mountain, he found himself going crazy. Because do you know what will happen? Because our minds are full of rubbish. Our minds are not tamed, are not in control. We haven't controlled our minds. Your mind will chatter to you like somebody screaming. In the silence of the world, in true silence, your mind becomes your biggest noise pollution. He will scream at you, shout at you. Literally, I'm not lying to you. What are you doing? What's going on? Why is it so quiet? Every thought that doesn't come to the surface because of all the other chatter comes to the surface now, and it drives people insane, and you have to overcome it. This is what the priest is telling that man. The devil will come to you, the devil will speak with you, demons will speak with you. Overcome it. And when you overcome it, imagine the room where you have somebody on life support machine, a pregnant woman, someone, heart attack, whatever. They have that machine, blip, 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 and when your heartbeat goes fast, it goes blip, blip, blip. When you move, blip, blip, blip. And then there's the clatter of the nurses, there's the crying of the children, there's your family there laughing, joking, eating, or crying. It's a cacophony of sounds, and all of a sudden when the blip goes dee, everybody goes deathly quiet. There's a hush. And that is what he's talking about. Now everybody's died. You need to die and awaken in the name of Allah. So Buddha is saying the one who is not disturbed by solitude, because people are disturbed. You need to hear that flat line, the dead line, the flat line. You are dead to yourself, and then you are reborn facing Allah. That silence, the one who is not disturbed by solitude, who finds joy in the silence of the forest, that one is free. Don't forget, the Buddhists don't believe in a God, right? But he's taking it the same way, but he just stops at Godhead, right? So the forest, that one is free. So empty your mind, and that takes practice. And this is the reason why the Rasul ﷺ was up in the mountain. The solitude of the soul carried on. Another one from Rumi. Don't flee from solitude. People don't like it. People do not like silence. It destroys them because their minds are wrecked. But go and find those people that live in the forests. They hate coming into cities. I met someone today, a friend from another city. They don't like the cities. They said, why is everybody angry? I've heard this before. Why is everybody walking too fast? Why is everybody antisocial? Because this is what cities does. It's artificial. Anybody coming from a small city, they have a more natural, connected way of life. Don't flee from solitude. It is the furnace of transformation. Subhanallah. This is what I just said to you in the other two slides, right? Solitude is your furnace of transformation. In that fire, your dross is burnt away and your gold is revealed. Because you, my friend, are gold. You are Allah's best creation. Allah's best creation. Gold does not decay. Gold does not get tarnished. Nothing happens to gold. That's the reason why they give you fake teeth of gold, because they don't decay. They don't change color or anything. If you put gold for 100 years in a sewer and bring it up, you just clean the dirt off. It's not oxidized. That's why gold is so valuable. This is the reason why the alchemists, on a physical level and a metaphysical level, turning lead into gold, the philosopher's stone, right? And then there was the metaphysical, like turning your base element of ugly lead into the highest version of yourself, gold, that reflects the light of Allah in itself, right? So don't flee from solitude. It is the furnace of transformation. In that fire, your dross is burnt away and your gold is revealed. If your heart was made of silver, if you are silver, your silver oxides. I need to use chemicals now to burn it away. If you're lead, if you're iron, you're gonna rust. Gold doesn't rust. All I need to do is clean it, and it shines just as it did 1,000 years ago. It's just got some dirt on it. That's it. You are that gold. And what's the cure for getting rid of all of that nonsense on you? Solitude. Solitude. Make a plan once a week. Take a book, a water bottle, leave your phone at home, and go for half a day in the forest. Go for a walk in the forest, sit down and spend 4 or 5 hours reading. We can no longer read anymore. Take a break, look at nature. Go for a walk. Have your own picnic. Bring some rations. Say, oh Allah, I'm following the sunnah of Rasulullah, because I want clarity. Oh Allah, I want clarity, and I can't find clarity because my sister's yelling at me, my brother's yelling at me, there's a TV on, we have an open sewer, as the Grand Mufti of the Jews said in England. Having a TV in your house is like having an open sewer, right? The Hasidaic Jews of London don't have smartphones. They believe in old phones because smartphones are a corruption. It's the devil's tool. It makes you open 1,000,000 windows and years go by and you're still surfing the superfluous, never having achieved or arrived where you should be. Going the way of destruction like animals, heedless of their desires until it's too late, when you were created for far greater things. As Rumi says, you are gold. Right? Build this into your life. Do it once with yourself. Do it once a week, once a month even. Then introduce your family into it. If it doesn't work, carry on doing it for yourself. It's like for example, every moment has khalwa. You have your 5 prayers in public. Then you come home and then you have your private prayer, your nawafila. That's your khalwa. You have your daily activities with the world, which is fulfilling the social side of Islam. And then at night, it's you and Allah. That's khalwa. But what about once a week, man? Imam Ghazali said, go to the mosque. Spend time alone in the mosque from Friday evening, from Thursday evening after Asr. You should be in the mosque till midnight. Then you come home and then you prepare early for Friday, and all of Friday should be in the mosque. The second part is your social. But the first part, when you're alone and nobody else is in the mosque, it's just you. And you don't go to the mosque to shoot the breeze. You find a corner and you just close yourself off to the world and you study. Or you can go into the forest You can go into a big park away from everybody, just sit next to water, contemplate like the Prophet did. By God, you will see what happens to you. The average person won't teach you this. Why? Because like I said, what have they done to Islam today? It's just all rote books and angry faces and shouting and screaming and getting one over each other. What happened to true Islam? It's majestic, it's beautiful, it's philosophical, it's poetic, it's romantic, it's beauty. Islam is what? Beauty. Ihsan. The highest form of Islam is what? Beauty. Imam Ghazali then says, seclusion purifies the heart from the rust of heedlessness. When you've got your phone, you're heedless. When you're with friends and family every 5 minutes, let's have a natter. When you've got a study circle at university, yes, you might get some things done, but you're also nattering about a lot of things. Then the meal is coming, we're tired now, we've done an hour of study, let's order the big pizza meal, and then, oh, that's it, we're done for today. But if you're on your own, you're in a deeper zone. Seclusion purifies the heart from the rust of heedlessness until the light of gnosis shines therein, which is what we're talking about. Withdraw from creation, not in hatred but in love, so that you may return with clearer vision and softer heart. Lao Tzu, this is a Chinese philosopher who wrote the Tao Te Ching. Who can wait quietly while the mud settles? We don't even allow the mud to settle. In your head is a little glass ball. You have those Christmas balls where you shake and you got snowflakes flying around and you got Santa Claus there and you got the reindeers, and you are that ball full of mud. It's constantly being shaking and you are just, your mind is muddy and you don't even have the patience to settle the mud. Because when you settle the mud settles on the bottom. 10% and 90% of the water is clear and you can see through, and everything reflects off that mud, which is what you want. Who can remain still under the right action until the right action arises by itself? True solitude, see, when he says the right action arises by itself, this is to do with their own philosophy, right? True solitude is a still pond. When the ripples of desire fade, the divine reflection appears. Allahu Akbar, what a beautiful line. When you meditate, when you calm your mind down, if your mind is shivering and quivering with thoughts here and there, it's like a pond where you throw stone in and the stone perturbates the water, waves crash to and fro, they go out, they come back, new waves are formed, both waves crash. Your mind is crashing against each other. You have a thought, it doesn't get to its natural conclusion, you make another thought, now you've got two thoughts competing and they're crashing into each other and nothing is being done, and then you wonder why you start to suffer madness in your life and why you have nervous breakdowns and why you need to shout and scream and you can't bear anybody else anymore. He says true solitude is a still pond. So imagine you still your pond. Imagine I ask you, look at the moon. Look at the moon in your pond. If your pond isn't still, you're not seeing the moon, you're seeing flashes of light. But if your pond is completely still, you are seeing the moon in its perfection. If you didn't know better, you would think that was the actual moon, even though the moon is up ahead. Now there are two equal moons in your life. What he's trying to say here is true solitude is a pond. When the ripples of desire fade, the divine reflection appears. Allahu Akbar. This is not a Muslim. I, at the end, put this warning in myself. I said the next line is biased to his own ways of life. So if you're ever reading this, don't read the next line, or understand it that he's basically a non-Muslim atheist. They don't believe in God. Buddhists and Taoists don't believe in God, by the way. They just believe in the way everything is. Right? It's a philosophical concept. Half nonsense. Misguided. Truly nonsense, actually. But beautiful words nonetheless. Shams Tabrizi, the inner meaning. You sit alone thinking there is no companion, yet the friend is sitting beside you. Who is the friend? Allah. He who has no one has Allah. We know this, right? Allah is always present, but you hide Allah behind your friends. You hide Allah behind your sins. You can hear the chatter of your friends, but you cannot hear the voice of Allah who's been calling you since the beginning. Sit alone for a while, and I swear to God, you will hear the voice of Allah clearly telling you right action. And when you hear the voice and you follow the voice to its source, one lover to another lover. And when you found what you are seeking, the object of your desire, what else is left in the world now? When you enter seclusion, you do not leave the world, you enter the divine presence that was waiting there all along. Hermes Trismegistus, in his ascent, the ascent in silence, close the door to your senses and you will see with the eye of the mind the beauty that never dies. Allahu Akbar. When the outer senses rest, the inner vision awakens and the unseen world grows luminous. How many stars are in this room now that I cannot see? But once I've I've closed the doors to my inroads. I'm at complete peace. My mind is still. How many stars will I see all around me? How many angels will I see? I will see the hand. I will see the signature of Allah in everything. I will see beings that are not seen by other people. I will have deeper understandings of the Lord that nobody else can comprehend. That's my secret. Where does it start? Sit alone. Sit alone with Allah and not with His creation. So that's the wisdom of khalwa. Seclusion is not escape from the world. It is a return to oneself in order to return to God. It is a spiritual discipline found in every prophetic path. Moses on Mount Sinai, Jesus in the wilderness, the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam in the cave of Ḥirā. In essence, khalwa is withdrawal from distraction. Khalwa is withdrawal from distraction to empty the vessel of the heart, purification through silence so the voice of the soul may be heard and the voice of God may be heard. Preparation for divine service, for those destined to lead must first learn to listen. The Sufis often say seclusion is not to flee from creation, but to polish the mirror of the heart until it reflects the Creator. Okay, I am going to stop here deliberately because it's 12 o'clock and I don't want to go on. So I've left you on a cliffhanger, I hope, and I've raised you to a certain bar where you're feeling something now, right? So I should really conclude it because it will be beautiful. By next week, I hope you don't deflate again. So keep these quotes in your mind. Keep all of these quotes in your mind, okay? Practice some of it. Try to go 24 hours without speaking. See what happens to you. No social media, no reading billboards, no listening to gossip, just in your own world, 24 hours with your tongue touched to the top of your roof, saying nothing. Try it. Do your adhkar inside your heart. Keep your tongue rested, and you may feel something of what we're talking about here. Okay, so grand students on this grand journey, we're one step behind Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always, and that's where we need to be, right? Because he has made the path for you. He has stepped the dangerous ground. He's cleared it for you. You can see we're showing you the footsteps, and you just need to follow the footsteps. The work has been done. And here today we can absolutely feel it, because I know that I've built this understanding now. I feel like I'm standing behind Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's in this cave. I can see him in this cave. He's standing. I'm standing behind him. Whatever's going to happen to him is going to happen to me afterwards. Right? Obviously, he got full revelation. I just get a tiny, tiny dot of it. Allah reveals the unseen to whom He wills. Right? We're there, people, Today's lesson, wallahi, today's lesson was we were very, very, very close to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? I don't know if you felt it, but I definitely did. So I'm going to have to part on that. So I hope you can stay with the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for a week. And inshallah next week we'll carry on. Okay? We'll start right from here again. Any questions before we leave?
No.
Yeah, there must be a question. A teacher likes a question. A teacher hates a class that doesn't give a question. So give me a question. Are you going to practice khalwa? Is anybody made up his mind he's going to practice khalwa? Yeah, one easy.
I think it's practical to experience solitude in that frame of mind, being alone with your thoughts, maybe next to a stream, nothing but some zikr and contemplation.
Yes, you are so lucky where you are. I know just down the road from you, man, you have farms and you have the Pennines, man. You have the Pennines. It's very easy for you to just disappear in Bronte country and just don't listen to a lecture, because that's again the voice of somebody else, even though the words are God's words, but you want to formulate God's words yourself with a book, right? Because listening to a lecture is company. The idea is not to have company. Plan a 6-hour trip. Just find a spot, even in the winter. Find a spot hidden from everywhere. Get your thermos and your tiffin box. Get your thermos, get your drink, sit down, have some snacks, and just read for 3 hours. And don't read just religion. Read a philosophical tract. Read something about, what we're doing to ourselves. Because Rasulullah was contemplating on what is happening in Mecca. What am I seeing here in God's house? What is this fixation with the idols? Right? So there are many books. For example, What's Got Into Us is a very good book. There's many good books on how where city living is damaging our lives. The fact that boys are no longer boys adrift, feminized men and masculinized women, the breakdown of social order and society. Or read books on how people just lived 100 years ago. So you're basically doing what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did in the modern form. You're contemplating on God, you're reading about God, and then you're reflecting back on creation and saying, oh God, these are the problems I'm reading about. And oh Allah, I want to get close to you. This is my way of getting close to you. Read nafil, read some Quran, do some adhkar, 1,000 times salawat. Go for a walk, look at creation, praise Allah when you see beautiful creation. Smell a flower and say, oh Allah, look how perfect this is. Right? Look at everything and say, Allah. Try to see Allah's creative act in everything that you see. This would take time to build, but these are ways to get close to Allah. Somebody in class said today, I'm studying Usulul Fiqh and I don't understand the benefit of this. Why are we studying this? It doesn't get me close to Allah. Of course it's not, because that was never the subject to get you close to Allah. That was a very technical subject to teach you Usul. That was it. A very dry subject, in fact. To get you close to Allah is far simpler than that. To get you closer to Allah is contemplation. Sayyidina Ali said, it's better for me to read one verse of the Quran and spend the whole night in contemplating its meaning than to read the whole night the Quran. So this is what gets you closer to Allah, alongside guidance. If you have the right sheikh, you'll get there faster. So on that note, I will leave everybody, and we will make our own, some blueprints on how to do this. Maybe I'll write something down, simple stuff that I want you to try and see how it makes you feel after a few months. But you've got to do a paradigm shift. You need to move away from your modes of operation. You need to change certain things about you. Yeah, you cannot be filling your bucket with spirituality and there's a hole in the bucket. You can't put water in a bucket that has a hole in it. You need to seal the hole first. So we will do this inshallah. This is why we had to look at the Imam Ghazali's book. Again, it was too much for me. Otherwise, those are the books that will give you these special things that a fiqh book will not give you. Fiqh is dry science. You know, it's these kind of things that will awaken you. Okay, so inshallah I'll see you next lesson. Thank you very much everybody for attending. May Allah reward us, forgive us, give us closeness to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Man, really, wallahi, I feel like I'm there. Today I feel like I'm there. That cave is my cave. Any messages? What's this message here? Thank you for the beautiful presentation. Thank you, Shahid. It takes a beautiful mind to know something of beauty. It takes a beautiful soul. So inshallah I'll see you next lesson. We'll carry on from here. Thank you very much. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
سيدنا محمد وعلى آله عدد كمال الله وكما يليق بكماله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على أسعد ما محمد وعلى آله عدد كمال الله وكما يليق بكماله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نور الهدى محمد وعلى آله عدد كمال الله وكما يليق بكماله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.